The first time it happened, it felt like coincidence, the kind you notice but don't respect enough to fear. It was 9:18 a.m. on a Monday, the office still half asleep, keyboards clicking in uneven rhythms, the smell of burnt coffee hanging in the air. I hadn't told anyone yet, not HR, not my manager, not even the coworker sitting 3 desks away who barely spoke to anyone. But as I set my bag down and logged into my computer, he rolled his chair back, looked directly at me, and said, "Rough weekend. Your sister's car didn't start, did it?" I laughed reflexively. A short, confused sound. My sister lived 2 states away. No one at work even knew she existed. "What?" I said. He shrugged, already turning back to his screen. "Just a guess." It bothered me for maybe 5 minutes. Then a meeting started. Emails piled up. The day moved on, doing what days are good at, burying small unease under routine. By lunchtime, I had convinced myself it was nothing. People overshare. Social media exists. Maybe I'd mentioned my sister months ago. Maybe he saw something online. Maybe. At 1:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from my sister. "Car died again. I hate this thing." That was when the coincidence grew teeth. The second time came 3 days later. Wednesday, 4:56 p.m. The office was thinning out. People packing bags. Conversations drifting toward dinner plans. I was still staring at my screen when he stood up, grabbed his jacket, and paused beside my desk. "Don't forget," he said casually, "you're flying Friday night, not Saturday morning. Gate change, too." I looked up at him, my heart thudding hard enough that I felt it in my throat. "I didn't tell anyone that," I said. He smiled, not warmly, not cruelly, just neutrally, like someone acknowledging a weather report. "You didn't have to." He walked away before I could ask anything else. I didn't sleep that night. I replayed every interaction we'd ever had, searching for clues, for moments where I might have accidentally revealed something personal. There were none. He wasn't a friend. We didn't talk. He didn't follow me on social media. I checked twice. His online presence was minimal. No profile picture. No posts, no visible connections beyond a few coworkers. By Friday morning, I was exhausted and jumpy, the kind of tired that makes shadows feel intentional. At 10:03 a.m., as I poured coffee in the break room, he walked in behind me. "Don't take the stairs today," he said. I froze. "They're cleaning the cameras," he added, like that explained everything. "Elevators, faster." I turned slowly. "What cameras?" He met my eyes for a split second, too long. Then he looked away. "Never mind." That afternoon, the fire alarm went off at 2:17 p.m. A false alarm, triggered by maintenance. Everyone evacuated down the stairwell. The stairwell was the only place without cameras. I noticed that because later, when security reviewed footage, that section was missing. After that, the comments escalated. He knew when I was going to leave early before I requested it. He mentioned a dentist appointment I hadn't put on the company calendar. He asked if my apartment neighbor was still loud at night, 2 days after a particularly bad argument I'd had through the Wallen argument that never happened anywhere near work. The worst one came at 8:11 a.m. on a Tuesday. "You should call your dad," he said softly as I walked past his desk. "He won't pick up later." I stopped. "What does that mean?" I asked. He didn't answer. At 11:36 a.m., my dad suffered a mild stroke. He survived. But the timing burned itself into my memory with surgical precision. I went to HR that afternoon. I framed it carefully: uncomfortable comments, boundary issues, vague concerns. No accusations, just enough to get it documented. They nodded sympathetically, took notes, promised to look into it. At 6:02 p.m., as I packed up to leave, he stood up again. HR won't help, he said quietly. They never do. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too badly. That night, I started checking my apartment. At first, it was obvious places. Smoke detector, router, laptop camera, phone settings, nothing. I even laughed at myself for being paranoid. Office stress does things to your brain. You see patterns that aren't there. Then I noticed the outlet behind my couch. It wasn't mine. It matched the others. Same color, same wear, but it sat slightly higher. Just enough to catch your eye if you were already looking too hard. When I removed the cover plate, my stomach dropped. Behind it was a pinhole lens. I called the police at 9:47 p.m. They arrived quickly, took photos, took the device, told me not to touch anything else. When they traced the signal, it led somewhere unexpected, not to a van, not to a nearby building, but into the office network. Specifically, an unused server partition that hadn't been audited in years. The next morning, the office was locked down. It arrived first, then security, then people I didn't recognize, men and women with badges that didn't say the company's name. At 10:22 a.m., we were told to log out and step away from our desks. At 10:41, they escorted my coworker out. He didn't resist, didn't look surprised. As he passed me, he leaned in slightly. "You were supposed to find it later," he said. "What?" I whispered, when it mattered more. The investigation unfolded over weeks. They found devices in places no one thought to look. Inside conference room clocks, behind whiteboards, in the ceiling, above the break room, in the ventilation ducts. Not just cameras, microphones, motion sensors, old hardware spliced into newer systems, feeding data into a private archive, hidden behind layers of obsolete software no one maintained anymore. He had access to everything: badge logs, email metadata, calendar drafts, VPN traffic, even fragments of audio captured incidentally, stitched together into timelines of people's lives. Not hacked from the outside, built slowly, patiently, from within. He'd been there 8 years. No one could say exactly when it started. When asked why, he gave no manifesto, no explanation, just a single sentence repeated during questioning. "I wanted to see what people do when they think no one's watching." The company settled quietly. NDAs were signed. Statements were issued that said nothing and promised everything. Most employees left within 6 months. I was one of them. The cameras are gone now. My apartment is quiet. My phone is clean. At least, that's what the experts say. But sometimes, at work, when someone mentions something they shouldn't know, or finishes a sentence I haven't spoken yet, my chest tightens and my eyes drift upward, searching corners, vents, reflections. Because once you realize how easily a life can be observed, mapped, predicted, rehearsed, you stop asking how someone knows and start wondering how long they've been watching.